with us right now, the head of global happiness with convert.com, Dennis van der Heijden, also happen to be the founder and CEO. Dennis, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Happy to be here.
Yeah, and so go ahead and explain what convert.com does.
It's an A/B testing tool for websites and apps near the future. So what that means is you can install something on your website and then change something and measure the impact. So before you make risky moves, you might want to change that and measure if that's going to either improve or risk of revenue loss. And before you actually do that, you install convert.com and run something what we call conversion optimization programs, and hoping that you're gaining more than you're losing, and you can actually prove that.
Yeah, well, I'm going to ask a really dumb question here, but it needs to be asked. Why is that important?
Well, what we've seen in the past is that you just make a change and hope for the best, because either your marketing department, your designer, or whoever does it actually says it's going to work. And you run with it, and you actually never really know if it's going to work until afterwards. And so what A/B testing does is allows you to test multiple versions of the same website or app at the same time, run it, and see which one is improving. And if none of them are improving, then you actually saved yourself a whole lot of money. And if they are winning, you now have a new and better version of the message, the imaging, the colors, or the product, whatever you're trying to improve on. You now know that it's actually going to work. This is how Amazon is making all that money. They run 1,000 A/B tests every day.
Wow.
At the same time, I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah. And so so the consequence of not taking this part seriously is that we're potentially losing a lot of money if you've got a website. So in the world of, and I know that there may be other tools out there, maybe they're just kind of like WordPress plugins or that sort of thing. So where does convert.com kind of outshine the other options?
Okay. Yeah, we focus mostly on enterprise kind of tools. So if you have 1 million visitors or more every month to your website, that's kind of where the additional problems start. A small detail, you can make a change and there's a small flicker. You still see the old version and the new version. Not only you see it, but also Google sees it and lowers your SEO rankings. So it gets more and more complicated with more visitors and more money involved. So you really want to do that lightning fast to make sure the statistics are valid, Google is happy, and your visitors are not kind of surprised what's happening on the website. It just lowers trust. You just see things flicking around. You see an old price and then the slightly different price. And I was like, what's happening here? And so in this kind of level that we're playing at, this kind of technical challenges do exist, and we're solving that for them.
So you've mentioned Google a couple of times. Why does Google care?
Well, Google has, by the way, really interesting tools for themselves that you can use for free, by the way. So people have a tool called Google Optimize, for example. They can optimize and A/B test their site for free. So if you're a smaller customer, that's really nice to start. But Google is also the biggest search engine. And the search engines right now, and we're talking about July, there were new updates, and something that was really important for them was the user experience. So does it load fast? Does it load well on mobile? Do you make banners pop up? And that's like, this is all not what we want. So we want the results that come from Google search engine to our users that use the Google search engines to be clean and clear and useful. And so if you're using the wrong tools, you see flickering happening, and Google doesn't like that, will give you a lower ranking, and so you might lose against the competitor if you use another tool. So this is why it's important where you pick certain tools over others. It's one of those things that you have to consider in our field.
Yeah. In terms of kind of feature set or robustness, you'd mentioned that you're primarily an enterprise level solution, websites that are doing 1 million plus. What might they find if they just use a lower cost solution for an enterprise level atmosphere? Like why should they make the upgrade to convert.com?
Well, for enterprise, we are the low-level tool, actually. So it's an interesting question, but it's really interesting. We decided to be kind of the IKEA of the space. So I'm not sure if that's for everybody, and I think people in your audience have to decide what they want to do in there. If you're selling to enterprise, normally you have a whole batch of salespeople and BDRs and SDRs working to fill your funnel, and you're trying to sell at the highest price. You're hiding your price from your website, and if a customer comes along that is kind of a multi-billion-dollar corporation, you're like, oh, that's kind of a $150,000 tool for us. And if somebody's less fortunate in funding, you might say the same kind of feature set you sell for 30. So you're going for a value-based pricing, and that's true. It just didn't fly with us. It's just not how we are. We have a very different core conscious kind of business, and it's not always revenue maximization, which is odd. And so we decided to put everything transparent. So not a whole battery of salespeople. Doesn't really matter if you're HubSpot, if you are Mozilla, if you are a really big e-commerce site, just add your credit card and talk to a salesperson if you want a year contract. But we're not going to massively oversell you. It's just the same price. And so it is a different kind of play. It is a play that is still $700 to $1,500 a month, but it's also not the 100,000 a year kind of play. So it just felt different to us as founders. We are what we call a conscious business. We're, I would say, almost a B Corp. In how we act and how we stand in the world. And we just didn't want the headache of selling different price scales depending on how much you can afford. It just didn't work with us as founders. And so we decided to build on transparency.
Yeah, there's kind of like I remember talking with when we were deciding, well, how were we going to price this is a while back when we were going to price our PR services. I had one guy that said to me, he says, well, I'm kind of like the dentist that looks in the mouth and sees four bad teeth and says, oh, that's going to be $1,000. And if the person goes, oh, really? And and then listen to the response per tooth, so it kind of adjusts, just based on.
Yeah, that's very much value-based pricing. Yeah. Looking at the watch and you're like, nah, maybe that's going to be okay.
But I like, I love that you're very transparent about pricing and transparent about quite a few other things on your website as well. So a couple of things that Convert has been committed to is kind of doing good. It's just, kind of the core part of doing business. Can you talk about why you do that?
Makes me sleep good at night, Josh. That's it. I mean, why do you want to be in business? It's like the core essence of what we do. If you want to be only in the business of making revenue, I think you can do that. I think you shouldn't do that longer than 5 years. I think it's mentally not a very healthy play. There must be something more why you do that. And we built Convert not in a hierarchy. We have something called a holacracy, which is a management style that's very different, flat, no managers. We decided that we wanted to just build a better kind of company for mostly our team members. So the customers are there to fund a great company. It's kind of weird, like we need customers to have more converters so we can have a better experience, because being a converter means a lot. Like you're part of a family, we pay you well, we treat you with enormous respect, lots of trust, no micromanagement. And so on top of that, every product that we make, we offset in carbon. We're carbon neutral, 15x carbon positive. We're trying to make things better for the people that have experience as remote workers. We've been doing this for 6 years now. Like remote work is maybe more common in the US, but if you're from the Philippines or from Mexico, that's not always a possibility. And getting a really good pay working remote in a company that trusts you, where you don't have to check in, you don't have to check out, you don't have to log your hours, there's no keyboard logger, you don't have to report much more than once a week. We're building a fantastic environment where people say, I like this so much that I want to take this to any other future job. I wouldn't be able to work without it. And if I leave Convert, which rarely happens, but does, they're looking for environments that offer that. And I think I'm not only doing business, I'm spreading kind of a philosophy of business where people they want to work there because, and I think that's maybe younger generations have that more than the older. They're coming out of school is like purpose. We need some sort of purpose. Like just making money is not cutting it anymore. And I think we caught on 6-7 years ago with the birth of one of my children, and the whole thing changed. Pre-midlife crisis kind of thing, and I think that's what we want to do. We want to make things better, and so I'm really proud of them.
Yeah, well, based on current trends, you definitely ahead of the curve. In the great kind of resignation wave of this year, that's what a lot of employees working with very traditionally minded companies are expressing. They're like, I want to work in an environment kind of like you just described. So tell me more. Yeah, tell me more about how you can get away with that or how you can do that. Because I think a lot of maybe managers and leaders are listening to this and going, oh my gosh, there would be utter chaos. Things wouldn't get done and we'd miss deadlines. And that sounds like too much, for too much freedom.
Yeah, well, that's obviously it's a big fear, and I understand it. And I was there, like I was really there. I was the one that built processes for people. You had checklists. This is how you write a blog, a 50-point bullet points, and it all had to be there. You have to check off, and there was another person that checked the person, and there was another person that checking the other person's checking. It was really a kind of company that maybe many of your listeners have right now, and it's very stressful. And I looked at my children and we're looking at them as like, my children have more freedom at 5 years old than my employees have at 40. Well, that's weird. Like, why do I trust a 5-year-old more than a 40-year-old? Like, I trust them in their development. I trust them that they will walk. I will trust them that they will find a way to write and make friends and be social. And in my case, maybe learn a couple languages by the situation where we're in. And why not with the team members? And I stumbled upon the tech talk from Holacracy, and I was like, that sounds interesting, scary, weird. How do you even start? And the start was the willingness of a founder saying, I don't like the company where I'm heading. Whatever work, like I'm sure if you are multi-year founders and you work 10 years in a company, there will be multiple of those moments where you go up and wake up as like, I don't like to work for my own company. And that happens sometimes, and that's okay. And like it happens if you don't like your children, maybe you don't like your wife at one moment in time. You have to go through a process to make that work again. And for us, it became a flat organization. And we have checks. We have very structured checks. So this is almost like an ISO structure of organization. So everything is massively defined. So we put fences around the entire company, then around every home and every room. So you're free inside that space to do whatever you want, with the condition you don't hurt the space, the building, the environment. And we have to trust you that you don't. And if we make a mistake, and you make a mistake, and that's okay, then we're going to apply a new rule that we didn't need or didn't think we needed, and then we're going to make the rule. But only then we can assume that you're not going to destroy my company. That's where this starts. Like, that's where it starts.
Please don't destroy the company. Other than that, you have free reign to do, get done what needs to get done.
It's kind of starts like that. It's like, I mean, you have to do a couple of checks for fraud and how do you do wires and things like that. But and who signs off, and that's okay. Those are the bigger things that can go wrong. But we should assume that somebody writing a blog knows more about blog writing than somebody that sells. We just have to. Otherwise, why on earth did you hire the person? It starts with trust. You didn't hire the right person. You don't trust them. Fire them.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're going to bring on lots of pain. So hire great people with trust and authority in their field and set them free to do what they do best. They decide the tools that they need. And if they don't want those tools anymore, let them buy new ones, give them a credit card, give them a good pay, give them trust, and do weekly check-ins. Every Monday, everybody updates in the entire company, all the mini roles that they are being accounted to, saying, what have you been moving forward last week? And that's it. We just read those, and if there's things to correct, we'll do that.
Dennis, how do you and your team hire for that? Like what do you do during the hiring and or recruiting process that other people might do a little bit differently?
The first round of hiring is there's 2 people that receive the resumes. Mostly, actually, we stopped doing resumes now. We have a form you fill out. And in the form, that's it. We don't do resumes. You give your LinkedIn
funny.
page.
We don't do resumes anymore.
We don't do resumes.
Why don't you do resumes anymore?
I don't care what you did 5 years ago. It's like,
Yeah.
Can you solve the solution last week? How did you handle that with your boss when he was upset? How was the customer responding when, like, I don't care where you were 5 years ago. I mean, you were maybe in school, but then had a fantastic experience as a bartender, and you be great because you always loved computers and tech support. I mean, I don't care. I don't care where you are from in the world. I don't care what languages you speak. You speak English correctly, that's all we need. I don't care where you live. I don't care about your religion. I don't need to know all that. It's irrelevant for the job. So we actually, the first round is completely blank hiring. If they filled out, they thought, or she or he, we remove all that. Those filters then go to the first level of person that needs a new team member, and they see it completely anonymized, no languages, no universities, no location, nothing to identify a gender or anything. And it's like, based on this, would you like to make him pass the next round? And then another person outside the roles that hire them will do a value interviews. Are you in line with the values? How would you treat a customer? Would you cheat to get this done? Like, how far would you go on this side? How far on that side? So it's more ethics and values. And then, only then, the planned name, we give a secret name to a person because we don't share the names inside the company. Then there is actually an interview. And at the moment that the camera goes on, Josh, that's the moment you see who you have in front of you. And you have to ask, in my system, you are a tree name. So you are an oak. What's your real name? Because I still don't know it. Like at that moment, we ask the name, and the person is like, well, why don't you know? Because it's anonymous. The entire process is completely anonymous. And so we have lots of value checks. And again, we move the trust to the other person. We also ask a video. We don't see that because we transcribe it. So the hiring person will see the transcript, and again, anonymized. But in there, it's camera on. We're a remote company. You need to be able to talk. You need to be able to communicate. So those are some of the things that we may do different than other people, I think, on the hiring process. And on top of that, we publish the salaries on the job posting. If it's not a fit, don't come. There's no negotiation.
It's nice to know that in advance.
it's like our pricing page. It's like it's there. You either pay $6.99, you want a discount, pay you in advance. You want more discount? Sorry. Like, there is just none of that. And so this is their salary. This is the amount of hours we expect you to work. There's a condition. You might want to work 1 hour in this particular time zone because of meetings. So since there's like 18 countries, we sometimes have some challenges on meeting times. So we would like you to be present on this time. We don't care where you are, just have a good internet connection and speak English, and we're good.
Yeah. This is really cool, Dennis. I've appreciated this, and I'm grateful. It's fun to have a conversation just about like leadership and hiring and that sort of thing, and kind of setting culture. So I want to say thank you so much for that. Now, convert.com, when somebody goes there, where would they engage? How do they start? I mean, I'm see a big button right here, and you've probably run convert tests on your own website.
We run a lot of tests on those forms, but let me start first. Don't sign up. Perfect. If you don't know what David just talked about, don't come, because this is not a fit for everybody. It's like, don't come. It's like, if you're curious of what A/B testing is like, go and read a book and stuff like that. Don't sign up for software. Software is the last thing you need. Go and talk to your internal team members and find a champion that is curious about it, because literally before you're ready for convert, you probably did already 50 tests on other software. And so don't come. It is about sign up for Google's free tool, Google Optimize. Go and try that. That is really interesting. You can prove what works on your business. And if you make $1 million and over, you should have some budget of 50K to be able to focus on improvement constantly on the site. And you shouldn't put things live. You should always test them. It is literally 2 weeks of your time, and the amount of money you'll save and the proof that you have that what you're doing and what your team is doing is actually making sense is significant. So one call to action, go and do A/B testing. Second one, don't do this convert unless you know what you're doing, because you're going to churn. It's too technical. If you know what you're doing and you have a team already and you don't want to pay 100,000 and annually, and you want to pay 30 and hire more team members, that's a good moment for convert. Like, we save you money. You can hire more awesome people, because the people make the difference in our industry, and the tool is just a tool.
Yeah. All right. Dennis van der Heijden, again, the founder, CEO of convert.com, also listed on your LinkedIn. You're the head of global happiness. This is a great conversation, Dennis. I really appreciated this. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.